Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to CGF Entertainment Radio, only on IntellectualRadio.com. What did I say? I said entertainment. Did I say entertainment? Yeah, it is kind of high. Okay, whatever. So he's the director back there. So that's what Earl does. But welcome to CGF Entertainment Radio Show. This is your girl, Alice Boswell, and we are only on IntellectualRadio.com, iHeart, baby. Tonight, my guest is Diane Shapiro. She is the Republican running for the clerk of circuit court.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to get into her and get some information from her. The ladies are not here with me tonight. I am here by myself. And actually, do you know, we've been doing this show for over a year, and this is the first time I have actually sat at this table by myself, without the ladies with me, by myself. So let's see if I know what I'm doing. Or is it them?
I think you do.
I think it, I don't know. And maybe them, I need them. So they need to get their self back here. A couple of announcements. CGF movie event is happening in December. We are going to see Halle Berry's new movie, Kidnap. That's December. All right. So check out the Facebook page, CGF Entertainment Facebook page, for more information on that. Also, the CGF second annual toy and food drive is coming up. All right, so we'll be letting you know on a new location for that. And we had so much fun last year. We was able to collect a lot of food and a lot of toys for the kids. And that's pretty much about my announcements for today. We usually get into some topics, and there's one topic that I really want to talk about. Diane.
Yes, ma'am.
That really shocked me, right? Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are getting a divorce.
Karma's a witch, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Witch with a capital B, that is.
Yeah. You can't believe it. After 11 years,
I thought it was
6
14.
children. Is it 14? Well, they started during the time they did the movie.
Or maybe when they got married.
Yeah.
It was like 11
Yeah,
years.
so maybe it's 11 years because they met on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So that I don't know.
I wonder how Jennifer Aniston's handling it.
Well, she's married now. Well, no,
you know
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
Come on, girlfriend. You know what it's like. It's like you kind of you don't want to, but
you don't want to,
but you kind of celebrate your exes.
I don't know. I don't celebrate my exes, but I think I would probably. I don't know the way that happened with them because he cheated on her.
That's what I mean.
So yeah.
Karma.
So 6 kids later. And they have like $400 million that they have to.
Will they adopt us? Maybe
me.
Yeah. You.
Yeah, I need to be adopted at least by them. So
cool.
So, and did you know they have a $60 million estate in France?
No.
Yeah. So you know what? When these stars get divorced, it's amazing how much information you get about their personal life.
We know more about them than we do about anybody in public office right now.
That is true. I would tend to agree with that. That is.
We know more about them than we know about our presidential candidates.
Yes.
Our state's attorney candidates, our any candidates, people in office, and it's really kind of interesting. I've always wondered why we know more about celebrities.
I think it goes towards people tend to care more about that than the public office,
and yet. This is what impacts us: our taxes, our corruption, city stickers.
City stickers. I don't have a city sticker, so I live in the suburbs. So
I have a city sticker. I have a
but you live in the
license
city
plate
of Chicago,
sticker.
so yeah,
Thank you very much. Welcome to Texastan.
Wasted taxes. Yeah, but Brad,
isn't it amazing?
Pitt, he is so fine.
Well, he's available now, girls. Go for it.
Yeah, he's Yeah, and Angela Jolie. And I'm shocked. I'm really. When I saw that today, I was really shocked.
Because it really did seem like
a really good couple.
Yeah, long term, kind of like Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
Okay. Yeah. And it didn't last, so nothing lasts forever, and that's a point taken right there.
Yes.
How's that? All right. Hey, listen. I couldn't get the state of where this was at or the city. But a school lunch worker quit, right, after being forced to refuse a hot meal to children.
Really?
Really. So Stacy, I cannot pronounce her last name, says she would never forget the look on the child's face that she had to go over there and take the food from him. So now this is the thing: if the parents are $25 or more in arrears, right? They're not going to give the kids a hot lunch. If they're younger kids, they'll give them a cheese sandwich, and if they're older kids, they won't get anything. So she says after it happened twice, she said she just couldn't do it, so she quit.
That's crazy.
It is. It is.
Where was this?
I didn't get where it was, and I probably should have. It was there. I was just so shocked up on the story. I'm like, who does that?
That's pretty cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when all the other kids are eating around you.
Yeah. So they go and she said the way that that child, I was listening to her on a newscast, and she was saying the way that that child looked at her, she would never forget that she had to take that food from him. They made her go over there and take the food.
That's humiliating too.
It is. That's another form of being a bully.
But it's
the school
bullying.
doing it. Yeah, the school is being a bully. Right.
If you're going to give, so don't give anybody a hot lunch. Give them a cold lunch so everybody gets to eat.
Right. So
Case closed.
Yeah.
But you can't give peanut butter and jelly because you've got all these peanut allergies.
That's right.
What are they to do these days?
They're going to give them cheese sandwiches. And that's what she was supposed to give.
Lactose intolerance.
Right.
The list goes on and on and on. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
But that, to me, is just cruel.
Yeah, very cruel. But the school system said, from what I was reading of the story, the school system says that they have parents they have a collective of parents that's like $20,000 and behind in school lunches. So this is one way they can fight it.
Where are they getting the subsidies? From the state, from the county? I mean, this is what I would be wondering.
But I'm thinking they would have to anyway.
If you're going to provide a lunch,
right,
give everybody a lunch. If you can't provide a hot lunch, provide everybody with something, cheese and crackers.
And that's what they said they did. But for the older kids, they will not get a lunch if they're in $25 in arrears, and the younger kids will get a cheese sandwich.
Wow.
The rest of the kids will sit there. So they'll sit there and it's a form of bully because they'll sit there with their cheese sandwich while the rest of them have hamburgers, hot dogs, or whatever they're serving for lunch at that time. Damn, it's crazy. That's
mean.
Very mean. Very, very mean.
And I've even seen cases where the children were forbidden to bring their own lunches from home because they had to be served, I guess, according to the government, this portion of that and this amount of calories.
Absolutely.
And what if a kid doesn't like the school food? And we used to always bring a lunch to school.
I remember us bringing lunch to school as well.
All the time. And we'd have lunch, sit in the assembly hall and eat our lunches. Things it was a while ago. I'm not going to say when it was.
I'm telling you, when I read the story, I'm like, what? I started reading about Brad and my girl Angela, and they're getting a divorce, and now you don't want to feed the kids. Y'all done lost our mind. You done lost your freaking mind. All right, so another topic that I really want to touch on today, and this is over in Oklahoma. So I know everybody's been talking about it and what's going on. The unarmed Oklahoma man that was fatally shot by the police. Terrence Croucher was unarmed, and his attorney said he never reached. They were saying that he got shot because he reached into his window for a gun or whatever. He reached into the window, but his attorney said he never reached into the window because when they did an enhanced shot from the police cameras of the windows were rolled up.
Is that the one where the female officer broke down in tears?
I think I heard something about somebody crying, but I don't know if this was it right here or not. I know they were saying that he was shot. Terrence couldn't have reached into the vehicle if the window was rolled up. The reports of drugs that was there, but they didn't find any intellectual, and I'm just quoting what they're saying, they intellectually justified the shooting because of drugs. But again, how can you reach into a closed window? And if blood splatters everywhere, how do blood splatter on a closed window if the window is open? So
strange.
Very, very strange. So his attorney, Crump, so they're all over this. And this is going over to Oklahoma, so they're still investigating the whole thing. I like to, tell the family I'm sorry about your loss, and hopefully we can get through this. Again, this is another shooting of another black man from the police in our community. So let's get together and stand up for this. Then the next thing we're going to do is take a break real quick, Earl, and then we're going to come back. Because I have a whole bunch of questions for you.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So we'll be right back on Intellectual Radio, CGF.
Maybe a commercial break, right?
Yep. Commercial break. Hey, welcome back to CGF Entertainment Radio. This is your Alice, and with me is Diane Shapiro. She is running for the Cook County Circuit Clerk of Circuit Court. Hey, Diane, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
All right. So for those who don't know, a court clerk that I got the definition from is the office of the court whose responsibilities include maintaining the records of the court, and another duty is to administer oaths and witnesses and juries and so forth. You tell us what's going on. Tell us about you.
Let's see. I worked in the courts for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And I've worked in every division I've worked in every different district courthouse: Rolling Meadows, Skokie, Bridgeview, Markham, Maywood. I've walked streets in every neighborhood. I worked in all the police courts, most of them. It's easier for me to tell you where I didn't work than where I did work. I didn't work at 61st and Racine. I didn't work at Harrison and Kedzie. I didn't work at 727 East 111th Street, but I've worked pretty much everywhere else. Mm-hmm. In the sheriff's office and in the adult probation department. I was assigned variously to caseload, repeat offender court, recidivism, that's a repeat offender. I was assigned to recidivist court. Okay. We used to call it rack court. I started out in drug court. Then I finished up in branch 66, which is sex court. And then I finished up in rack court. So I worked drug, sex, and rack.
Oh my God. So
my first 7 years in the office.
So that brings us up to your experience and qualifications.
Oh, let's see. Where do we begin? I actually, when I ran the first time, I was endorsed by the Trib, Sun-Times, and Daily Herald. But I actually know how to use the computerized system, and I'd be happy. It hasn't changed in this. I'll be retired 7 years on Friday. Mm. The guts of the system have not been changed pretty much at all since I left, and it hadn't really been upgraded since Ori Puchinsky. Now, mind you, in 2009, well, and earlier, there's a federal court mandate to modernize the courts. That still hasn't been complied with completely. 09. And then again, it was by Judge Holderman.
Mm-hmm.
And then again in 2014 by Judge Castillo, Ruben Castillo, with even more conditions. And as recently as last week by Judge Valdez. Because files are routinely lost, missing. And I know as an adult probation officer and as an investigator, I go to court, give me the file, go in, say, where's the original arrest report? Where's this? Where's that? Where's the other? And there's insufficient documentation in the record that the clerk has not data entered because there is no quality control. That's the unfortunate part. Now imagine you're a defendant and I'm doing an investigation on you. Just name the charge. You're charged with blank. In order for me to investigate you or do a background on you, I need to know what the facts of the case are. I need to know your personal background, so I would interview family members. And so you can go through any number of instances, but say you're charged with child abandonment. Want to find out about your psychological background. Is there a psychological background? Let's talk to your mom. Let's talk to your dad. Let's talk to your family, which you can do with adults. It's different. I taught juvenile justice. It's different with juveniles. I've done juvenile investigations as well.
Okay.
But if you can't get the basic information, what that person is charged with, how do you even proceed? How do you make a recommendation? Because there are cases that you can't make a recommendation on. The only recommendation on is incarceration, Class X felonies and things like that.
But how can you prosecute if you don't have all your paperwork there?
There's the rub. There have been cases where the cases. There have been instances where the cases have had to be continued because they can't find the files, they can't find various evidence. And I've even been to court at times where I said, well, we can't find the file, but we'll make a substitute file. It'll catch up with the original. Really? How? Where? When? And this is the chaos that's been going on, especially, I'm sorry to say, under Ms. Brown's term.
Right, which brings us to she is your opponent.
Correct.
Right now.
She's the 16-year incumbent.
Yes. She's been there since 2000.
I have her original, it's out in my car, the original plan that she had, maybe 10% of which has been met in 16 years. I have a problem with politicians. I believe that it's about public service. And unfortunately, Ms. Brown, it's documented. Everything is all about pay to play, pay to play, pay to play. It has to stop somewhere, somehow. People are hired and they should be qualified. And I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't get my first job with a letter from the alderman. I came with a letter from 24th Ward Alderman Schumpert in 1976. Patronage does play an important part in hiring. But it's 2016, and we're talking before the Shackman decree. This is pre-Shackman, which has to do with political hiring and firing. It isn't supposed to be that way anymore. People are supposed to be hired based on their qualifications. It's the lawyer supposed to hire military first. I worked in the system. I met maybe 2 or 3 people that had military experience. I will be hiring people out of the military. We will be sending applications to men and women returning from service.
So what are the skills and qualifications for your position that you're running for?
For my position, you have to be able to supervise people. You have to be able to have a good interpersonal relationship with people, work one-on-one. Mm-hmm. I'm a team player, and I actually know how to do the data entry. I'd be down there on the floor doing the data entry. If anybody really had a clue of how archaic and how much garbage this system is, they'd be up in arms. We are paying good money after we're throwing good money after bad. Lost files, missing files, lawsuits, because like that 150, I think I mentioned to you before we went on air, that at the moment there are 150 cases in the state penitentiary that can't be appealed because the files cannot be located. Now, those are going to result in lawsuits as well because you have 90 days when you're sent down to the penitentiary to appeal. And I'm sure there will be exceptions made because they can't find the files. And that's up to the attorneys. But this is according to the state appellate defender. And I know appellate justices that have told me that they have received files from Cook County that were incomplete, insufficient, or where the attorney had a stack of paperwork like this but the court file was only like this. And the attorneys are being told to keep courtesy copies of everything they file in case the files get lost. That should never be. We should have modernized the system 10, 15 years ago when the orders first came through for the entire Northern District of Illinois. Every other county has complied. Cook County is the only one that hasn't.
So they're still doing it by hand, basically.
Yes, everything. In fact, like I said, I was there 2 weeks ago doing observation of bond court on behalf of an organization. Mm-hmm. And I played stupid, said, oh, I used to work here, blah, blah, blah. I didn't mention, because I wasn't going to put a clerk into a trick bag. I said, you've got because you have to get in with a password. So let me see if I can still do the codes like I used to. It's every bit as garbage as it was when I was using it 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago to type my own investigations into the system. It's all form fill, no way to do external data entry. And there are times where I'd be preparing and there was no save mechanism, like on a normal computer.
Right.
You can save and go back to something. Oh, no. Sometimes the thing would freeze and all of the work that you had done on that investigation disappeared. Boom. Like bad magic. And this is what they're still working with. Say I want to do a juvenile record check, JVNM, go into the to the divorce, into probate or anything like that. You can't open a window and keep windows open. You have to close completely out. So if I wanted to check back and forth, you were arrested as a juvenile for theft. And as an adult, you've got a drug problem, a theft problem, and so on. I can check your juvenile record, and I could check your adult record, but I couldn't go back and forth simultaneously. You may have used aliases. And I had instances where there wasn't even a record of 3 or 4 aliases that I got the record corrected for the aliases to be there so they would be searchable in the system.
Wow. Well, you know what? In doing the research, polls show that most voters don't think the government works anyway. Right?
They're right.
So, what do you think? What would you do to fix the underlying problem with the circuit court?
Oh, it's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Be hands-on, be involved, be there, be present, be part of a team. You can only lead by example, and that's what I would do. You don't crack a whip.
Okay.
And that's unfortunately what too many people in the managerial positions do, and that's why people hate their jobs. They dread coming to work. They're fearful. Work on training. I would be able to train somebody how to use the computer system. I'd be able to train. That's what management should do. I promise you, I would guarantee you my next pension check that Dorothy Brown does not even know how to use her own computer system. Oh, she can get up in front of people and say, oh, look, here's an app and you can search. I guarantee you she does not understand how to use the system, even how to access which codes are necessary. I'm doing an investigation. I did do juvenile, adult, civil, criminal. I can do traffic checks. I can search anything. But I can't search from system to system to system, open a window, open a window, open a window. You have to completely close out, go in, come back, close out. It's 1980s, early 90s technology.
So other than the computer system, what else needs to be done? Because it seems like if the files are getting lost, that's not going to clear up the problems of the files being lost.
Buck stops with me. You're the clerk. You're responsible for that file. That's your baby from beginning to end. We're not going to be moving clerks around and around and around. There's going to be a clerk, like a sheriff. Like they used to have they used to call them personal bailiffs or personal deputy sheriffs. When I was in the sheriff's office, for example, Judge Garippo. Some people may remember the Garippo family, 36th Ward. I'll use that as an example. His personal bailiff was what's his name? Ben Vallone. Ben was a friend of my dad's. I used to go to a lot of the 36th Ward functions. I just use this as an example. Ben was the personal bailiff, and Angel was the personal clerk. It was kind of like a family where people work together. Now, I understand there are circumstances where people don't get along, so you want to make it so that people do get along. But when you are not, it's like being disconnected from a community. being bused from your neighborhood to another neighborhood where you're not connected. You don't know the churches. You don't know your neighbors. You don't know who goes to which school. You're disconnected. It's the same way when you're being moved from courtroom to courtroom to courtroom. And there are times where somebody has to fill in, but you should have quality control. I'm responsible for every one of those files. You're my deputy clerk. Therefore, you're responsible. You sign my name. You're in effect signing a check in my name, guaranteeing that everything is true and accurate. Data entry must be done on that same day. It's 2016. If we had data filing imaging, if we had the modernized computerized system like they do in DuPage County,
Right.
with all due respect to the employees of the clerk's office, we could really streamline operations. We'd need far fewer people and get the job done much more efficiently. People would be happier, they'd be friendlier. You know, how do you come to work every day if you're afraid of your boss, if you're afraid that, you haven't made your campaign donation to your boss, you might lose your job? And that has been known to occur. I worked in the sheriff's office. You had to buy it was $35 at the time. I think they're up to like $125. That's how old I am. But you buy the tickets for this and the tickets for that and the tickets for the other. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's public service.
One thing that I found interesting is the lost files and how can you prosecute someone without a file?
You can't.
So we have people incarcerated that probably shouldn't even be there because we don't have a file on them.
My friend, we have people that have bbeen known to stay in Cook County Jail for months extra because the paperwork was not done correctly. I've had lawyers tell me that their client, that the minimus, I don't know if you're familiar with the term minimus, it's Latin for we present. When you go to court and you're a detainee, it's gone from being inmate to this to whatever. They're detainees now. The minimus is the paperwork that's recorded in court, the court activity. If your bond was reduced, if your bond was increased, if you had another case, if your case was dismissed, and so on. It was illegible, and they were held extra over the weekend because the people of the jail couldn't read the MIT. It wasn't entered. It was a Friday. It wasn't entered into the system yet. They had to return the detainee to court the following Monday, only to find out they'd been released and they were held a couple of extra days. That's kind of like false imprisonment. Or where detainees are released when they weren't supposed to be, and that's called escape. Nobody cares. And I care. I worked in the system. I grew up in the system. When I was born, my dad was an assistant state's attorney. And in fact, we're talking about political hiring and firing. My dad was with the Democrat Party under John Goodenough, and he and Cecil Partee and Marty Brodkin and Earl Strayhorn, they were all state's attorneys together. Mary Ann McMorrow, who recently passed away. In 1958, the Republican got elected, Ben Adamowski, and the Democrats had to go off on their own. And my dad and Mr. Partee wanted to go into practice together. In 1958, they could say, sorry, we don't rent to Jews and we don't rent to black people. That was 1958. Yes, things have changed, so to speak. But yeah, there's still prejudice toward, let's face it, we encounter it every day. When you were on the outside, I were on the inside. Not much has changed despite the Civil Rights Act of 1965. But we are the what did Mahatma Gandhi say? Be the change you want to be. Be the change. And I am the change. This is my third time running. This is not personal. I hate Dorothy. No, I dislike what Dorothy has done to the court system. That's my beloved court system that I grew up in. And I have so much admiration for. And it's been an important part of my life.
Well, to be fair, I did look up Dorothy as well. And Dorothy, even though she's in the lead for the Democratic, because she's running against Michelle Harris.
What happened was this.
Okay.
Dorothy paid $25,000 to the Democrat Party for her endorsement. Judges paid $40,000. This is all, and the patronage employees are expected to duke back 2% of their salary to the ward organization. That's how it always has been. A lot of people don't know about this. I'm an old-time Democrat precinct captain. I've been around the system since I was inside my mother. And somehow, some way, this has got to stop. Remember, I'd asked you, we'll get into Operation Greylord after this.
Yeah, definitely.
I've always made it a point to operate within the law. My name, my reputation, I don't care what people say about me. They can say whatever they want. Slander, libel, it happens all the time. Can you prove it? I've never done anything outside the law. Everything that I've always done has been with the utmost of integrity. I've helped so many people. In fact, I'm not going to name names, but one of my former probationers was one of the Pontiac 17. Mm-hmm. So he talks about me, but I'm not going to talk about him right now. But I went to his Gateway graduation, and let's put it in perspective. I'm one-on-one with this guy. I'd been one of the, I don't know if people are familiar with the Pontiac 17. The Pontiac 17 happened in like 1977. There were 76, 77. There was a riot at the Pontiac, at the Stateville Penitentiary in Pontiac, and 17 defendants eventually got charged with murder and all sorts of mayhem that occurred during the riots. All of them were exonerated because they couldn't prove who did what. But this guy was one of the Pontiac 17. He was one of the heads of the CVL. After this, you might want to have him on your show, so I'll give you his contact information. Today, he's a drug counselor. Today, he's helping thousands of people. Today, he's got a program over on the West Side where he's helping people. And he got me involved in an organization called CSAC, where I'm still, even in retirement, helping juveniles stay out of the system. And if they're in the system, how we can do the deterrent programs, mm-hmm. and adults with felony convictions, helping them. Felonies can't be expunged, so let's set this all aside. But this guy could never have gotten a real job, but he made himself a job helping other people. That's what the system should be about. Not about how much money can you pay me to get you a job. No. Are you qualified? And if you're qualified, civil service type of thing, if you're military, apply, take the test, and we'll get you hired.
You are running unopposed.
I'm running against Dorothy now. What had happened was,
right.
Dorothy and her husband were, and this is all in the news, okay? I've got the articles outside. It's on the internet. This is not libel. This is not slander. This is what it is.
Right.
She has a lot of donors from the Hindu community. And they gave her, one of her donors gave her free land, her and her husband free land, that a year later they transferred into a corporation and flipped for $100,000. So it was under a cloud of suspicion, and her home was raided last October 15th. That was why. The endorsement was given to Michelle Harris, the 8th Ward Alderman. And a third candidate, Jacob Meister, ran, so it was a three-way split. In the end, I believe Dorothy got 47%, and the other two split the difference. But in one-on-one, Michelle Harris, it had been just Michelle and Dorothy, Michelle Harris would have been the winner. Michelle's the 8th Ward Alderman.
Right.
So this is how it works. And it's sad that it's not the most qualified person who gets the job. There's no test for these positions. There's no test for state's attorney. There's no test for senator. Many of these people, in point of fact, and I'm not pointing a finger at any one person, they have no skills, no qualifications. They just happen to win the vote. There's no test to run for public office. I could pass the test to run for public office. I could pass the test to use the clerk system. 30 plus years of experience in the courts, knowing the system backwards and forwards, knowing all of the people, having a close personal relationship, an amicable relationship, a one-on-one. Here, let's do together. We're going to get this all caught up. I loved it when, as an investigator, I'd call various smaller court clerk systems and talk directly to the circuit court clerk. The circuit court clerk was the person who answered the phone.
So have the Republican Party endorsed you?
Yes, I am a slated candidate. And there are slated candidates. There are no independent candidates running that I'm aware of.
I didn't read any.
Right, in 2008, there was a Green Party candidate that ran for circuit court clerk.
But there's no one now.
No, it's just Dorothy and I.
It's just you and Dorothy. And from my understanding, the Democratic Party has dropped the endorsement for Dorothy.
I heard some rumors that I'm not going to repeat rumors.
Right.
Rumors are rumors and facts are facts. The facts are of record. The facts of why Dorothy's endorsement was revoked. And when she actually, while under investigation, went to ask the county board for a $10,000 pay increase, Tony Preckwinkle said, no, sorry, you're under investigation. And Pete Silvestri put forth legislation, which I wholeheartedly support. I see no problem with a circuit court clerk being appointed. If you're appointed, you're held to a higher accountability and a higher standard. They appoint the circuit court clerk at the appellate and Supreme Court levels. It's a quality control issue. You are personally liable. Like, for example, when my sister was director of expedited child support, she was not a political appointee. She was a quality appointee. She knew the system. She's still doing child support stuff, even though she's no longer the director.
Wow.
But she was replaced when she was sworn in under Comerford. She was kept under O'Connell, but when the new guy came in, you don't fire them, you just replace them. So I want to change the climate of corruption in the courts. I want to be an elected leader that can make you proud. That when you come to court, it's like, hey, I'm Diane. Forget the fancy titles. I have several. I don't like titles. I'm Diane. That's the name that I was given. That was what my parents crowned me with.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the great lore, and then we're going to be pretty much out of here.
Cool.
All right. Intellectual Radio, CGF Entertainment. Did you want any water?
Sure.
are back to CGF Entertainment Radio with some background information. Diane, I hope you're enjoying yourself.
I think I am.
You are?
I hope the audience is entertained. Come on.
They are.
I've got a lot of good information that 30 plus years of working in the courts, plus the years before with my dad working in the courts. In fact, I'll tell you a real quick anecdote.
Yeah.
I learned so much from my father. The way I was raised, the way I was taught to be with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm original. I mean, I didn't grow up on the West Side, but when my dad was precinct captain over in the old 24th Ward, I walked precincts with him. I have some people that may know. I know many names from the past. I was just taught to talk to people, to be with people, to just don't judge anybody. Just be. Let people be. And that's how you see it. That's how I see the world. And that's the way I was trained.
Well, I do want to touch on before we get out of here, if you don't mind speaking about it.
Not at all.
The Grey Lord.
Operation Grey Lord.
Operation Grey Lord.
Operation Grey Lord. That was one of the most. In fact, if you don't know anything about it, there are a couple of really good videos on YouTube about it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of corruption going on. Speaking of pay to play for jobs, this was pay to play for throwing cases out of court, hustling bond slips in the halls of court. Say you had a bond $35, and maybe your case was going to be thrown out anyways. SOL, stricken off with leave to reinstate. DWP, dismissed for want of prosecution. Nollie prost, where there's no prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be hustling people in the halls, and I see sheriffs with. Wasn't no ghetto wad, my friend. It was like a roll of 20s, and we're talking back in the 70s. Okay, late 70s, early 80s. That was a lot of money. And I remember working in one courtroom in the Daily Center where they were passing out, this is 1981, $25 checks made out to cash for all of the employees in the law jury division where I was working. Okay, but Operation Grey Lord took place, I forget the exact, it was like 80, I worked under it from 83 to 85. I didn't even know what was going on, but I saw corruption going on, and I'm like, keep me out of this. I'm going to school part-time, I'm working full-time, I just want to get through this and move on. But judges, lawyers, state's attorneys, Judge Lefevre was the presiding judge at the time, and he played on my naivete. I didn't know that all this was going on, but they knew I was like legit.
Right.
And he called me. He's like, we heard that you know a lot about the bad stuff that's going on. Would you call me if you see anything bad going on? I was so naive. I actually believed him. But one judge committed suicide. I mean, it was just awful. A lot of people got demoted, fired, incarcerated. Judge Sedini, I worked in his courtroom. He went to jail. Judge Laurie, I worked in his courtroom too, but he was exonerated. He was charged but found not guilty. I worked in so many different Grey Lord courtrooms. That was a real experience.
Do you think there's anything like this going on now?
There's always some kind of a scheme going on somewhere, but it doesn't mean that somebody has to know. Like in housing court, there's some collusion between the property owners and the people that want to buy the property and the sheriff's sales and so on. It's part of how the network works. Do I like it? No. But is it illegal? A lot of it isn't. It's just people arranging how to get things taken care of to expedite things. Mm-hmm. Although I do have a problem with sheriff's sales. You own property, and because of the fact that you maybe missed paying your property tax for one thing, they can take your whole property away for failure to pay one payment. And then you got to pay back that with interest. But I've seen property seized for almost nothing. The system is broken. People have to get in and fix it. Like legislation. Just, you got to look out for one another. We're part of a large community. And I think that's what's broken up so many neighborhoods.
Oh, wow.
The antagonism, somebody knows more than somebody else.
All right, so let's do this because we're getting ready to get out in a little bit. Tell us your vision for this office that you are.
First of all, we're going to comply with the 09 and 14 and 2016 orders to modernize the computerized system. We are going to make sure that no files are lost or mislaid. I'm going to take over the management of that warehouse. There was an expose that was done on it. Everything was still all wrapped up in plastic. Okay, until the expose was done last year. It was done by Fox, by Dane Placco. This is all of record. Look it up. I am going to lead by example. I'm going to be present and involved in the courts. I'm going to help do data entry. I'm going to help answer phones. I'm going to be, like I said, in every every courthouse, not courtroom, that's ridiculous, on a rotating basis. There's 6 district courthouses, and there's 2 in the 1st district, down to 26 in California. My home, where I lived a good portion of my life, and when I was born, my dad was a state's attorney there, and the Daly Center, where I also worked. I know my way around. CTA bus pass, gasoline allowance, and Metro pass. No bodyguards, no chauffeurs, none of this stuff that's wasteful. And I believe that within a week, once I get rid of all this stuff, we'll be refunding $1 million to the taxpayers. And by maintaining the files, we're going to prevent lawsuits, because there are lawsuits filed. If you're falsely incarcerated because your paperwork was held up or whatever reason, everything results in a lawsuit. Everything's going to be paid on time. We're going to make sure that every bill is paid. We're going to be sure that every audit is complied with. The 2015 audit was completely not complied with by Ms. Brown. I have it in my car. We're going before the Sun-Times and Daily Herald on Friday, she and I together. And I will have all of this evidence. Folks, you deserve the best from the court system. You deserve great people working in the system. You deserve to be treated with dignity, honor, and respect, no matter which side of the bench you are. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes or no, sir. Treat another person the way you would want to be treated, no matter what they're charged with. They're still human beings.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be the kind of leader that will inspire others to greatness. That you want to work, so you want others to work, and they follow your example. When you have a boss that doesn't care, it sets the program. I care, maybe too much. I'll be retired 7 years on Friday. I could be living in Texas. I could be living in Florida. They don't have the winters in Texas or Florida like they do here, folks.
They do not.
But there's a drive inside of me. It's about ethics, and that's the only word that I use a lot of. Ethics are my guiding light. Is it right? Is it wrong? And I always try to do the right thing. I would always prefer to err on the side of caution. Whether it's teaching school, college, which I did for 11 years, producing Shrine Circuses for 18 years. We wanted to give the best shows. I wanted to be the best teacher. I wanted to be the kind of teacher that would inspire others to teach, that would inspire others to speak if they were nervous. Find your voice, find your center, to help somebody become the person they were meant to be. Like what that guy was talking about, all we did was open the door. He walked through it, and 32 years later, not only is he clean and sober, he's helped thousands of other people. That's what I'm about. Keep your money in your pocket, give me your vote.
There we go. How can people reach you?
I can be reached. I am on Facebook, Diane S. Shapiro for Circuit Court Clerk. Or you can find it through Diane S. Shapiro. You can find me at citizensfordianeshapiro.com. You can find me in LinkedIn. You can call me at home, 773-929-6664. Wait, I always had a listed phone number, even in the sheriff's office and the probation department. I live my life in the sunshine. I have nothing to hide.
Well, we want to thank you for coming back. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you are very welcome.
And please, if people have questions, call me and ask me at a reasonable hour, of course, because I've been known to have conversations in my sleep.
Right.
But like I said, my life's in the sunshine. Once you run for public office, and I'm a public servant.
It's like you're on a reality show.
In your pocket too.
Yeah.
I'm a public servant.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Diane, for coming to CGF Entertainment Radio, Intellectual Radio. We appreciate you showing up and sitting down and talking with us, and we invite you to come back. Next week, our guest will be Yasmin Brown, CEO and founder of Boss, Beauties on Successful Strive. She will be here. She has an event that's coming up, and we're going to be discussing that next week at 9 p.m. on CGF Intellectual Radio. I know you just love when I keep saying that, don't you? See you next week.